Hello.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Oh, this doesn't show up. I've got a new hat.
Oh, yeah, it looks like a black hat from here.
It's a very black hat.
Mm.
It's got Fenland Fishing TV on the front.
Ooh, fancy.
You can see my bald head.
I need to rebald my head. I'm going to shave for a couple of days.
And tackle and baits on the back. So these are the hats that we're doing for the other podcast.
Nice.
Yeah,
Which is starting soon.
3rd of October, that one. So
very soon.
People won't realise this, but the tech isn't working properly yet at Page Towers. So I've been harassing Charlie the last 10 minutes and bleating about how I can't get things to work, but we'll get it sorted. So yeah, we're remote again.
Need to appreciate that it hasn't gone out the window yet. So
I'm not going to tell people the long version, but basically every time I set this up, I turn the computer off. I might as well I have to start from scratch again. It's probably me. I'm doing something badly wrong, but even tonight, I've got a nice little editing box and I can change through the angles, but I can't because it's changed the configurations of the buttons. Every time I press a button, it removes Charlie.
Depending on who you speak to, it might not be a bad thing.
Which, yes, I was going to say. So not always a bad thing, but no. So we'll get it sorted. I actually need you here, mate, because when you come sit here, we can sort stuff out.
Yeah.
Doing it on your own is a nightmare. Yeah, but apart from that, we're okay. And actually, it feels like we haven't done one for a month because we haven't.
Yeah. It's been all right.
It's been less hectic, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. There's other things take its place, it seems.
Oh no, it's mad, isn't it? Do you know what? I don't know how I ever worked and did all this crap. Well, I didn't do all this. That was the answer, wasn't it? I just
well, I'm still at on this side. I'm still at work today. I'm doing this from work. I haven't even got home.
You're in the shop, aren't you?
Well, yeah, the new and improved shop. Yeah, so the shop is now double the size it was. So we literally, this is the first of the stuff that's gone on the walls. So we got all the Berkeley spoons, trout spoons, the little whatever they are, the Berkeley pulse tails that we had a look at. They're all up here. Can't really see them. Little crankbaits down here, spider wire braid and stuff like that. Yeah, it's all starting to go back on the racks. But yeah, bigger, a bigger range coming soon.
Sorry, I was butting in. Have you moved like rooms?
So where our office was is now also part of the tackle shop. There's a hole where the wall was split between them is no longer a wall.
Oh, nice. I haven't been down for a while. Obviously. How's the fishery? Is it fishing well for the trout?
No. Water's like 22 degrees. We had a big algae bloom this week. It's very quiet. Not many people here fishing is the reality of it. This time of year is always quiet. We need it to cool down a little bit and kick things off again. August into the beginning of September is just like no good here. It should start to cool down soon, and it'll go mental for the last 6 to 7 weeks of the season.
I think there's lots of trout very deep and they're very difficult to catch.
Yeah. Unless you're realistically, the only guys that are doing any good at the moment are either the ones booby bashing with like really heavy sinking lines, or the guys fishing with the paste.
Yeah. Sorry, I just realised something. The back black drop, black, good.
Black, yeah, it's cool. It's cool because you blend into it perfectly.
I have got white.
All right.
I'll change everyone to white. I just this is all trial and error. So the lure fishing podcast is getting the trial and error part. And
talking of lure fishing podcast, you haven't introduced what episode this is.
Oh, and that was the whole reason I was going first, wasn't it? Yeah. We're on episode 16. I did remember. I just forgot to say what it was. Episode 16. And yeah, we're rattling through them. We're just going to keep going. We're going to bore everyone senseless, our 3 listeners, and see how long we can keep them listening to us. Yeah, episode 16. We have got a plan in place. We're not making this up as we go along, honestly.
Well, to an extent.
We are going to talk about the recent event we did, which, well, it was more of I wouldn't call it a comp because we didn't go into it as a comp, did we?
No, it was a journey, a voyage of discovery. Let's call it that.
Yeah, it was ZANDERMADNESS from Rutland, which was the first night fishing event ever. That was pretty cool. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And you had a 3-day event.
BIG LeRF Weekender.
BIG LeRF.
LeRF, yeah. So the name of the event, LERF, because that's phonetically how you pronounce LRF.
Oh,
yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a bit as well. Cool. Anything new on the horizon? Have you picked up anything new, lure fishing wise?
As in tackle wise, or just news?
Anything?
Not really. I've been so in my own little world recently. I haven't. Oh, I did see some new Garmin kit that was being touted around on Facebook today. 4K screens up to 24-inch. That is a bloody monster. Yeah, crazy.
I have seen these big screens, and you know what people are using them to do? They're putting on side imaging and 360 on the same screen.
Yeah,
and I think you might as well have two small screens.
yeah, but I think the processing speed is like way quicker on these new ones.
But the space it takes up on a boat, I'm talking about the boats we use.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're obviously not aimed at the likes of us that are used to high boats.
No, they're not aimed at us, are they? God, all the stuff we put on there is unbelievable. All right, 4K. It's tech is just getting. I suppose the fishing industry is getting the high end tech that was high end 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and other things like phones.
Yeah,
trickling through. Yeah. Any new lures? Have you had any?
I could talk. Well, when we get onto LRF stuff, I'll talk you through some of the weird and wonderfuls lure wise there. But no, to be honest, I've been a little bit out of the loop. I've been with ZANDERMADNESS, and then I had a week off, which wasn't a week off. I ended up doing all the things I never usually get time to do. And then this previous weekend, I had the BIG LeRF Weekender, which was I haven't even spoken to you about it yet, but it was it was brilliant. I loved every second of it, but it was hard work in lots of ways.
Yeah, because we purposely haven't spoken about anything, so we can have a proper conversation.
It's going to be interesting to bounce off actually before we get into it, because we haven't really decanted. What's a fly? We haven't really decanted our thoughts from ZANDERMADNESS.
No, we haven't. We basically did it, left, and haven't spoken to you really since.
I think we're going to have very, very, very different points of view on it.
Yeah. Before we get onto that, I've been carp fishing on the fly.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
I've never done before, and I'll tell you what, playing the fish and landing them was pointless. Not pointless, but like, because they just hang on. But getting them to take was amazing.
Yeah, mate. Well, it's stupid hot. What else should you do?
Yeah, but just the fact that I was watching these, I've never seen carp take off the surface before because I'm not a carp angler. I'm not interested in them. On the fly, I am.
Yeah,
and they come up and they tend to circle these dog biscuits.
Yeah.
Well, you can see them going on a line and they'll veer off. And it was really, you had to get your cast literally just in front of me. It was really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm going to go again tomorrow.
Oh, wicked. Yeah.
That's much I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was really good. So, but it's only something I'll do during the hot weather, perhaps 2 or 3 times each year. But yeah, it was really, really good fun to do. And the takes, I missed so many takes.
Yeah.
It was like, you've really got to let them take it.
Yeah.
So it's not like a trout off on the surface. It was like, I watch these things come up and take it, and down they go. My leader would fly off. No. And I wasn't strip striking, I was trout striking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything was going back into a tree, which kind of compounded the frustration, but it actually made it more fun in a way. So I had a brilliant time.
Yeah, carp and crankbaits is next, mate.
Well, I've got some Tom Moyer lures, and I've got 2. We took one to ZANDERMADNESS, that big fluke. I haven't caught on that yet, and I can't catch a bloody chub on this grub yet either. So there are 2 things that are bugging me. So they must get another outing before
I reckon you get a carp on those grub.
Yeah. Not technically. I don't think you're not allowed to use a lure rod. I suppose you could.
It's just like free lining on the surface, isn't it?
That's a point.
That's what I'd do with it. Just free line it amongst some bread, chuck some bread in, chuck a grub on top of it.
Next YouTube video is going to be can't catch a chub, but I've got a carp on the grub.
Yeah.
I might take I'll take a lure rod tomorrow. Yeah. My fly fishing companion's a bit kind of traditionalist. He might cringe, but I'm sure he'll find it quite amusing as well. But yeah, good idea, Charlie. Right. Shall we get into ZANDERMADNESS.
Yeah.
Right, where should we start?
Let's start with firstly a huge congratulations to Adrian and his team, SAG, yeah, and Angling Water, and it's especially the team at Rutland on putting their arses on the line, really, and attempting this, and for it going seamlessly. You know, so firstly, from myself, and I'm sure everyone who took part, a huge round of applause and a thank you.
Because we couldn't believe it was going to go ahead, could we?
When it was first genuinely, the day before, I thought they're going to call this off. Someone's going to go. Someone higher up is going to go. Are you mental? There's no way we're letting boats out at night. No, like people know. I work at a trout reservoir and know the paperwork that goes on behind the scenes. I would never even consider it as a possibility.
No, it was amazing, really. And I know, talking to Andy, the head ranger, a few days before, he was ultra keen. He wanted to see if we were going to catch some really big zander, and he had done a lot of work behind the scenes as well. So it was really good, wasn't it, with everyone involved? And
it goes to show the pool that lure fishing has. You know, yeah. There's obviously the want for it, because trout. I mean, trout anglers aren't going to want to go out at night, but do you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously they think, oh, they're willing to do these things for lure anglers, which shows their investment in it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great, and also I think it shows all the competitors how knowledgeable everybody was. Everybody just chilled out. People went to great lengths to illuminate their boats as well.
Yeah, there's some great photos actually.
Yeah, and some boats. I mean, Dave Mower and Tom Knight's boat, it looked like some kind of a 80s
Blackpool seafront, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was a good idea, really, because it didn't. It was all contained within the boat, wasn't it? The lights.
Yes,
kind of spinning over. No, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Actually had reflective tape around his rods.
I know, that was going the extra mile. Yeah. But the weather, it was about 5 mile an hour winds. It was just one of those beautiful full moon nights as well.
Yeah.
And it was quite eerie, when that in the morning when the mist came up, it was really beautiful, wasn't it? One of those.
Yeah, it was impressive just to be on the water for the night, regardless of the fishing.
I like it at Normanton Church, the way it was lit up as well. It was all pretty cool, wasn't it?
That's what I mean. You have to appreciate how lucky we are, because not many people have ever had the views that we had that night as part of the competitors that we're doing it.
Yeah, it was good.
We have to appreciate that.
Right, I set the scene then. So we had this plan that these zander were going to go really shallow, and we were going to find them either smashing through baitfish or in the shallows, or both. And by about 2 o'clock in the morning, we hadn't caught a thing, because the few zander we saw, I think we were getting confused with trout as well, weren't we?
Yeah, I think we were chasing ghosts. I think that's what I said to. I think it might have been Andy Dugan or someone. I said the reality of it is, what we tried to do is we wanted to catch the fish. We tried to catch the fish how we wanted to, rather than catch the fish how they wanted to be caught.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way in hindsight there's no way I would have thought that the fish would have behaved like they would have done during daylight, because that's essentially what they did.
And you know what I took away from it is, when you think of the depth of water Rutland has, over 30 foot, does the light even penetrate down that far? Do they really know the difference between day and night? Does it really make any difference?
I know when I go scuba diving, when I used to go scuba diving, you get down to about 15 meters, which is 45 plus foot. You lose all sense of color.
I wonder, because we went looking in the shallow water, right? So, and I haven't had this conversation with you at all. We went looking up the banks, into the actual shallower water. I wonder whether, if you say this is the water column and the zander are near the bottom during the day, I wonder if they just go whoop, in the same areas, but rise up in. Because if you talk to a few people, they was catching these fish in 70-foot water, but like 30 foot down, rather than on the bottom, or in the lower depths. I wonder whether those fish just, rather than sort of migrating up the shelves, whether they just rise up in the same water column. I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, what was in some people
certainly weren't where we wanted them to be. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, some people went out to practice, and they found baitfish when they went out to practice, and they were telling me that as it got dark, the baitfish vanished. They think they just went down onto the bottom, which again is something I would never have thought they would have done.
No.
And the trout. So what happened was, we went out looking, and suddenly on our screens were illuminated, and I was thinking these aren't Zander, but they're how I thought Zander would be hanging in the water, and we saw 3, 4, 5, 7, 23, 58, didn't we? And it was like, good God, they must be trout. They were everywhere. Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
They weren't tightly bunched, but they were like a massive shoal.
Yeah. Spread out, but like together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Earlier in the night, I think we caught the beginning of it, and that's why we was picking up little 2s and 3s that would look like Zander, because I think there was the trout moving into the area they wanted to be for the night for whatever reason that may be. And we was getting little pods that were moving around, and we was reading them as Zander when actually I think they were trout.
I think you're right. I wonder if they were feeding on the shrimp, because I know there's different shrimp in Rutland. There's not I don't think there's the killer shrimp. They got 2 sorts in there, I think. I might be wrong. They got a small red variety.
That's it. I can't remember the name of it now. I think Andy even tried to tell us on the day.
He did. And whether they
Argylus, which is what we've got here at Hanningfield.
So the little red ones, he said they saw loads, didn't they, just outside the harbour that evening? And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they kind of rise up at night and they trout, or just picking them off. Because the other thing that was interesting is we didn't catch a single trout on the shads we were using, and we would have caught them if they had been on bait fish.
Yeah,
they would have interpreted the shads as bait fish as well.
And no like plucks or bangs or nothing. You know, if you sort of half expect from trout, nothing.
Nothing. And the reason we know they're trout, that in the first thing in the morning when the sun was just rising, there were trout rising everywhere, exactly where we'd seen them on the live.
Yeah.
So they were definitely, without question, trout. We weren't misreading those. No, anyway, so we were going round and 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 casting at anything we saw, and nothing happened, did it? It was strange. We even started targeting fish on the bottom. Do you remember those really big fish that we saw that I thought maybe carp? Came tumbling down the slope.
Yeah.
So we saw other things that we didn't really know what they were. I think we found quite a few perch in one area, and then we moved to another area and we found Zander, didn't we? We tried to then target them vertically, and we're getting the odd response, but now it's getting about 3:30, 4 o'clock time.
Yeah.
And then we had one vertically. That was the 83, which won us the longest fish, and then had a small one just as it was getting light. Talking to the competitors, people stayed where they knew they'd catch during the day, and they actually caught most of their fish in the last 2 hours of the comp.
Yeah.
Which was interesting as well. So they had feeding spells, but they were very localized. But yeah, it was a strange thing, and it was completely different to how I thought it would be.
Yeah, I think if they had done what we'd have expected them to do and go and rise up into the banks and into the shallows, I think would have been well positioned to do quite well. But I think the reality of it is, I mean, I'm not very good at vertical fishing. It's really not part of my armory. I can get by, and casting is really what I prefer to do 90% of the time. And I think probably the same says for you. You probably admit it's the weakest part of your Zander fishing is the vertical side of it.
Just don't enjoy it, but I'll do it if I have to, and I can catch them. But I need to get better at it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys who are quite good at it.
Yeah.
So from a competition standpoint, they was always going to be the ones that we're going to do better, because that's just the way they fish, and that's how the fish want them to be caught. So
I think it would have been so interesting if we could have gone down one of the arms.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think if we could have gone down one of the arms, we would have caught some absolute lunkers that lived down there. That would have been more easier to find because they'd have come up off the bottom.
Yeah.
And what we were doing by traveling around, we'd have seen them. Absolutely convinced. I mean, it's not what I can say, but I'm sure the bigger fish, some of the bigger fish do move and stay down there for a long time of the year. They might come down into the basin because a lot of the food fish seems to come down there sort of autumn time, but they might not. They might stay down there because there's a lot of stuff going on in those arms, and there's definitely Zander still down those arms, and they tend to be bigger. So that would have been an interesting experiment. I think we were kind of limited to what was up in the main basin, but yeah, it was good. Did you enjoy it?
So here's where I'm gonna motion sensor lights. Here's where I'm probably going to differ with you. I wouldn't do it again. Not because I didn't enjoy the event. I the fallout from it as I suffered. I suffered. I had to. For you, it's not quite as bad. You've got about 45 minutes to get home from Rutland.
Yeah,
it's a good couple of hours or more for me. And if you're attuned to fishing, to being awake during the day and sleeping at night, as most of us are, and I'm not 21 anymore, to be awake all day and then fish all over the night on a boat, carrying your gear up and down it was hell driving home. I had to pull over and sleep. It was dangerous, is the reality of it. If the fishing had been like how we expected it to be, and it'd be like, right, brilliant, we're going to cast at these big zander up in the shallows, then yeah. But the reality of it is that type of fishing and the fish that were caught, is it worth for me doing that at night and being dead to the world for the day and a bit after? Probably not. That's me being a bit boring and responsible and a bit more of an adult. But in my youth, if I was 21 to 25, I'd do it every week. But I don't think I'd do it again, is the reality.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I don't disagree with you at all. I think, I tell you what, I didn't want to go and practice because I just wanted to go on it blind and just see what we could find. Actually, in hindsight, you always have to go and practice first. You need some pointers. So even just finding balls of bait fish would have helped.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know. We were in a good starting area.
Well, the other thing is as well, the draw for me was more about how he was going to be fishing for him. It wasn't the catching of the fish. Those fish are catchable in the daytime. It's not, they don't ever get caught in the day. So they are catchable in the daytime. So it was the draw of how we was going to be fishing. We thinking, oh, right, brilliant. They're all going to be up shallow. They're going to be really active. They're going to be, they're going to whack big lures. It's going to be great fun. Because it wasn't like that, then it sort of lost the draw for me. Because if you're just going to be fishing for them how you would in the day, just fish from in the day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly right. Because if you're just going to go vertical for them, what's the point? You might as well just,
Yeah, I know we didn't really catch much, but at least we sort of done what we did at Lake Challenge. We sort of died on the sword and fished it our way for the most part. In the end, we had to bend a little bit, but even then, we were still sort of doing it our way. Yeah. It doesn't, like I said, it's not something I'd rush out to again.
No, I know what you mean. I don't disagree with what you're saying because, yeah, if we could go down on the arms,
a big game changer, because the other reality of it is if you're going to be catching a big pike, that's probably where you're going to find them, is down one of the arms somewhere. You're not going to get them out in the main basin most of the time. I'm not saying the old one won't turn up there. The draw of being able to fish for them in that twilight, as it's just getting dark in the day, and maybe first thing in the morning, could be game changing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I would like to have done. Is we were going to before the rules come out, we were going to sneak down one of the arms and do it anyway. But we didn't want to put the event at risk and no, be unsafe. But before the rules come out, that was my plan. Was like, we can fish for pike before it gets dark, and then and that's the other thing. I felt we could have gone out a couple of hours earlier. I think we went out a bit late.
Yeah.
I think if we had even just an hour, it would allow everyone to get a bit more orientated because we were all ready. Everybody was ready to go. I mean, it's not a criticism of anybody, just a bit of an observation, really.
Well, the other thing is you've got to sort of consider they have to have a turnaround on the boats that would have been out in the day, so the rangers would have had to give themselves that little bit of a buffer to make sure they had the boats ready.
I think they did anyway, but talking to the ranger, he was fairly confident, weren't they? Most of them were there, but it was good. Yeah, very good. So, I know what you mean. I was tired the next day. What did I do? I just crashed out. A couple of hours, and then I just felt mongy head feeling you get when you need some sleep. And it wasn't too bad. I didn't feel tired during the event, but we did have lots of donuts, didn't we?
I had a moment where the tiredness caught me. I had a bit of a, like when you're overtired and I had a bit of an adrenaline when you had to fish. I had a bit of I wasn't cold, but you felt cold. I got a bit of a shiver on. And
weren't you? Yeah. I
think that overtiredness combined with a bit of an adrenaline because that fish, it happened so quickly. Do you know what I mean? And it just, I felt tired all of a sudden, and then I was fine again. It wasn't until literally I was half an hour down the road on the way home, and I thought, oh God, I need to pull over.
That's why I phoned you a couple of times. Just need to make sure you got home because I could tell you were absolutely knackered. Yeah. Okay, well that's kind of good feedback, but I think overall it was a brilliant event, and you're right at what you said about it. The organisers, it was amazing they put it on. And,
absolutely. The biggest takeaway I got from that competition was impressed with the running of it and the water, the water itself, as in the guys at Rutland, you know, everything they had to do to get it going. That was my biggest takeaway. Is congratulations and well done to them.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah. Right. So let's get on to this weekend just gone. And you had your LRF, the big LRF.
Big LeRF Weekender. So it's a remote comp. So it's one of these ones where you photograph your captures as you go with a card and send them off. You send them in to be recorded. Basically, you print a card a couple of days beforehand, and then at the start of the comp, or 2 hours before the comp, they send out a code word, and you write your code word on your card, and then you go out and catch fish. And it doesn't matter a single jot size of the fish, so it's irrelevant if a fish is this big or this big. It doesn't matter. It counts as one. So the idea is to catch as many species as total, saltwater and freshwater combined. So that's the total. Yeah. So that's whoever wins it has to catch a combination of both. There's some sub prizes as well, but there isn't like a category for just saltwater or just for freshwater. The main competition is both combined. And there was a junior category. There was it's an international competition as well. It wasn't just the UK. So it was the UK had its own category. Ireland had its own category. Europe, I think, and then there was I can't remember the other ones. Maybe it was an overseas one. I can't remember if it was any more than that. But they had competitors from the UK, Ireland, Greece, Cyprus, America, Portugal, Australia, and maybe somewhere else. I forget. So it was a proper international competition, which was it was great. It was great seeing all these different things because basically all your entries, you post them into a Facebook group. So you were seeing these captures as they was coming through, and be like, "Wow, where did you find that weird thing?" Like, you know. Yeah. I sort of went into it with because this whole species fishing, like saltwater thing, is quite new to me. I've done a little bits of it, dabbled in the past, but I've taken it sort of semi-seriously. It's not serious at all. You don't take it seriously. That's the whole point. Don't take it seriously. It's quite recent for me to go getting into it. So I never, ever, ever wanted to even consider thinking about actually challenging for any competition. I just want to take part and bump into a few cool people along the way, catch a few cool little fish, be in nice places, eat nice food, and just have a good time. That was all I was interested in, and that is exactly what happened. It was brilliant fun. I was joined by Bradley Hunt for the whole weekend, who I drove some. He drove loads more because I don't know, Bradley lives near Leicester. So he's about as far from the coast as anyone in England can possibly get. So he initially drove to me on the Friday. So he drove to Southend, which we then went up the pier, and we caught some cool fish. I caught 5 species on the pier. I think I had. I don't know. I'm not going to presume that Brad wants me to share everything, so I'll leave Fred. So I'll just tell you about mine. I had a bass, which was inevitable. I thought that was one of the first ones I was going to tick off. A sand smelt, which is I've never expected to catch on the pier. A black goby, and I'm just about getting my head around what goby's which. So I had a black goby because they've got a little row of black sort of bit along the dorsal fin, so that's black goby. Then I had what did I have? A lesser weaver, which is a venomous fish. So if anyone knows about them. And I had something else on the pier. I had a sand goby, which is like a very small little thing. Often gets confused with common gobies, which look very similar, but there is some difference apparently. I haven't got a bloody clue. No, there is some difference. But yeah, that was really fun. I never expected to get 5 on Southend. I was hoping for maybe 3 or 4. Anyone knows Southend is in the middle of a muddy estuary. It's not exactly conducive to sort of lure fishing for micro species, but nobody really does it. But I caught 5 species. I was quite pleased with that.
So
go on.
That was on the Friday, and then
so we didn't finish there on the Friday. So that was Friday morning.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So then, as the tide picked up too much for us to really fish effectively. We decided to have a little bit of a break, went and got some lunch, come off the pier, cooled. It was really hot, so we cooled down for an hour or so. And then in my mind, we'd had the plan of going somewhere else. So we were either going to go somewhere like Walton Pier, Clacton Pier, or possibly Harwich. So these were our options. And in my mind, I thought, oh, Harwich, that's not that far, maybe an hour. And I put it into the sat nav. It was like 2.5 hours. Like, what do we do now? So I thought, oh, well, that's what we're going to do. We'd already committed, so we did it. So we got in the car. We drove 2.5 hours to Harwich. I caught another black goby, which was already caught, and that was it. Nothing. So we drove 2.5 hours to Harwich. I caught absolutely bugger all, and then we had to drive 2.5 hours back to Southend. So yeah, went to bed at a reasonable time Friday, knowing that we'd have to be up and on the road Saturday. So the plan was to be up about 4 o'clock in the morning, get on the road. The initial plan was to head to Weymouth first for the morning and afternoon, fish in and around Weymouth, because I fished Weymouth a little bit in the past. I sort of knew a few spots where we might get a few different species that we don't get in Essex or on the East Coast. And then we was going to drive on from Weymouth to Brixham in Devon, meet up with some pals there, because Brixham is like one of the LRF meccas. Like, this is where all these weird and wonderful micro species live. So that was the next plan. I actually didn't end up getting to Weymouth until about 2:45 because the traffic was so bloody horrendous.
Oh, God.
It was heavy. Andy, you would have killed yourself. It was it was horrible. It was like 32 degrees. Traffic. The M25 they had like 3 big crashes. So I didn't move for like 50 minutes at a time. It was horrible. But I stopped in at Chesil Bait and Tackle, which is an incredible lure shop. So anyone who's in that area of the world or fancies a pilgrimage, because it is wall to wall lures and cool stuff, like loads of metals, loads of like the LRF soft plastics, like the Maracaibo, Isomi, the Barclay Gulp, all these, like, we call them starch baits because they're not plastic. They're made from something that's biodegradable. It was really cool. Stopped in there to pick up a couple of bits. Bumped into Andy Mitten, and I was like, oh, brilliant! Now we've got a guide. You're coming with us fishing. So he was meant to be entertaining his family for the weekend, which I knew anyway, and I knew he wasn't taking part in the competition, so I hadn't bothered messaging him or anything. And he was like, "Oh, I'll take you to a few spots." He takes us. So Andy brilliantly showed us to some few spots. We instantly put another 4 or 5 species on. I think I had pollock, pouting, gilthead bream, which was a first for me ever. I've never caught one, so I had gilthead bream, garfish, and something else.
That's another species.
Really pleased.
Gilthead, not a big one, but that is my first ever. So by default, that is a PB. I don't want to catch too many of these because I'm covered in scales now and absolutely stinks. So we'll get this back. It's another species off the list. Okay, it's another species to the list. I think that puts me on 12 or 13. And this one's a Balon, so another first for me. Well, that is another species for me this morning. This is a Balon. So that puts me on 15 species overall. Okay, look at that cool little fish. I think it's a tom pot. I sight fished him. I saw him in his little hole about 20 minutes ago and had about 10 casts in him. He kept rejecting it. Finally, he made a mistake.
How were you catching them? Were you like chucking little shads about?
No, so for the most of the time, I was using little pieces of this soft plastic stuff, which is not plastic, it's soft bait. It's the Berkeley Gulp one seemed to be better for me, but it looks a bit like a ragworm. It's the best. It's like a fake ragworm. It comes in like a sealed bag in like a liquid, which stinks. So either fishing that on like a split shot rig, so like a small hook with a split shot in front of it and just sort of bumping it on the bottom, or on small jig heads casting. And I also caught on metals. So I caught my garfish on a metal, like a jig, like a casting jig. And I definitely had I had cork wing wrasse. That's the other one I had. I had a cork wing wrasse off of Weymouth. And then late, I bumped into another couple of people doing the competition, a guy called Donny Midas. Really, really nice guy. First time I ever met him. Super keen. Like this guy's like you when it comes to your competitions. He's like ball to the wall. He's all about it. He'd been there practicing for a few days previous, trying to find where all these different species were going to be. Super, super, super into it. So bumped into him, spent a bit of time fishing with him. I caught another one of these little cork wing wrasse, which I'll sending Andy some videos so he'll see what these look like post. He won't know what I'm talking about now. So I got this little cork wing wrasse, and I'm just about to sort of chuck it back, and Don went, whoa, that's not a cork wing, that's something else. I was like, oh, really? So I stopped and I held it. He went, oh, yeah, so you see this fin here, because that's a solid colour and not mixed, that's a Balion's wrasse or a Balon's wrasse. I don't know how to pronounce it. So it was another species. I was like, brilliant, this is all adding up. This is fantastic. Then we sort of made the call to go and get something to eat and then drive to Weymouth, to Brixham to meet up with a fellow called Lee Russell, who's I've known for quite a long time. In fact, he used to help out with Hook Me Up stuff way back when. So I know Lee a little quite well. And so we ended up getting to Weymouth, to Brixham late, well into dark, and met up with Lee at a spot that he fancied. Had a poor cod almost straight away, which is looks a bit like a pouting. Doesn't look anything like a cod. It's of the cod family, but doesn't look like a cod. Had that, and then it absolutely hammered down. The heavens just opened, and it just absolutely pissed down. So we called it a day. Lee, very, very thankfully, and I thanked him a couple of times, but I'll thank him again on this because I know he does listen. Gave me and Brad somewhere to stay for the night, gave us a bedroom each, gave us beds, done us coffees and teas and that. Absolutely brilliant. You know, what a lifesaver. At that point, we was both absolutely knackered, and just to be able to just roll into a bed was a total game changer. So big thanks to Lee for that. And then Sunday is really where it got serious, because obviously, as anyone who does anything like this can imagine, but the more time you do, you start ticking off these species and you start running out of them. You think, well, just recapturing the same things over and over and over again. You then scratching around trying to catch others. But I caught another few quite early. So on the Sunday, I had mackerel, which I hadn't had. I had a tom pot blenny, which is like, they're such cool little fish. Again, Andy will have no idea what these things look like. But they're like, live in the little holes amongst the rocks and the weeds, and they're super
rock pools.
Eh?
You catch them in the rock pools.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in fact, I'll send you a picture. There's a picture of me fishing in a rock pool that's about this big, trying to catch these little blades. Got a little like 3.5 foot rod, but they're super aggressive. Like really, like the territorial. So you pull something past it, they shoot out and smack it. They're really, really aggressive. I know for anyone who wants to go and catch 30-pound pike, that must sound mental. But it's so fun because these things are super aggressive, and you're trying to. It's the same sort of thing. I said it to one of the guys I was with. I said it's quite similar to sort of like live scoping for things, because you're watching them and you're trying to pull it through at the right angle to get it to come out of their hole and have a go at it. Like it's good fun. So I had some.
What you did as a kid when you're like going on summer holidays with your family.
Yeah. It's rock pooling for adults. That's all it is. You know?
Yeah.
So I had the tom pot, and I had more cork wing wrasse you can ever. I didn't realise cork wing wrasse were as abundant as there was. I had bloody loads of them, and then I had a gold cine wrasse, which was another new one for me. I'd never had one of them before. What else did I have that day? I had a shanny, which is another type of blenny. I forget. It all becomes a bit of a blur at that point because I'm knackered. Then we're bouncing around Brixham trying to find Lee's rushing around trying to get to these different spots, different points of the tide, try and catch these different fish. I had a ballon wrasse as well. Another one. That's another one that I had. We saw these great big ballon wrasse around Brixham, huge things. Wasn't even any point in casting at them because we'd have hooked one, we'd have never landed it in a million years. All the gear we was using, so we just viewed them, let them go on their way. But it's right, that's that part of the country in the southwest. It's a totally different world. You could be in the Med. The water is so clear.
Yeah.
And you're looking at all these, you see all these fish, you're sight fishing for everything. And it's like looking into an aquarium. And you're looking down at your feet, sort of like 8 foot down, trying to catch these little fish. And then you sort of just tilt your head up a little bit and look out in front of you. There's a great big bloody harbour seal swimming by. And these things are huge. They're bigger than me. They're bloody great big things. And they're just swimming around in front of you. So I had that. And then I don't think I had any. Skip forward right to the end of the day. So we was like, oh, lights gone off. Right to the end of the day. And we fished under a pier. And by that point, I was sort of done, if I'm honest. I think I'd had 18 species by that point, which is just in salt water as well. So I was sort of done, and I was just twitching my little split shot rig along the bottom. And I got a buff, so I've set a hook like that, proper. Jeremy waded it. This monster fish that lives under the pier, and I brought it up, and it was about this big. But it was a leopard spot goby. Again, will mean nothing to you, Andy, but they're a very, very rare fish. And for a lot of people, so within the LRF world, there's a thing called a lifer, right? So a lifer is like a species you want to tick off your lifetime list. And a lot of people have these few species that they really, really want to get. And they call them lifers. And a leopard spot is, for most people, is a lifer. It's one you want to catch one of, ever. I caught one first time where they lived, Yeah. I was blown away. Like, I was like, they're such a cool looking fish. Again, I'll send you the videos. You can overlay them. You can see why they're called leopard spot gobies. They look absolutely amazing. But yeah, long story short, I ended up with 19 species, which is way more than I ever expected. I expected about 10, and I didn't even touch the freshwater. So, I don't know how many species I could have ticked off into freshwater, maybe 8 or so, if I'm being optimistic. And I think the guy that won it, I actually forget his name now, but he had 32 species over salt water and freshwater, and then Donnie, who we'd fished with the day previous, he'd had 31. So, yeah, and a junior had 24 or 28 or something like that. Yeah, mate, it's incredible. These guys take it super serious. Like Donnie, after we saw him in Weymouth, he was going to drive through the night to a spot where he knows he can fish at night and catch stone loach and bullhead, but he knows he's going to do it at night. He's got to fish all day getting this species in Weymouth, and then go there at night, catch these fish, and then be up again in the morning to do the freshwater stuff, go and catch his roach and rudd and carp and trout and grayling and whatever else. Yeah, but it was the overwhelming thing. I came away with it. You know how we say about the comps that Adrian's guys put on and things like that. The community's really cool. Everyone really gets. This is even better because there's no seriousness. There's nobody really cares if they win or lose. Apart from a couple. The social side of it is incredible. You're bumping into all these guys, especially when you're down there in the southwest, which is the hotbed for it. You're bumping into them. And you're going, "Oh, you're doing the competition? Yeah. Oh, what you had? That's it." It's like, when you're a kid, you get the football cards and you go, "Oh, not need, got, need." Oh, it's brilliant. And you're swapping spots with each other. Oh, I had a tom pot over there. And there was a few of them. Go and have a look at. Oh, what, you need a cork queen? Yeah. There's a few of them over there, under that boat over there. It was brilliant fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And to be honest, it just makes me a little bit gutted that part of the world, the southwest, where it's really good, so far away.
I can tell you enjoyed it, mate. You're explaining it beautifully. Wouldn't it be fun to have a comp where you had to tick off on a card?
Like, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So, like, I don't know, you had 40 species. You had to go and catch them all in 3 days. That would be a fun thing to do, wouldn't it? Because that would be like your Panini football cards, or whatever it used to be called. Yeah.
The sticker book. Yeah. I think next year I'm going to have to drag you along.
Well, I completely forgot about it, and we've been so busy. We just haven't touched base for ages as well, because there's so many things going on. And I would have really enjoyed it, because I do like going down to the southwest, and I love Cornwall and Devon. It's a beautiful part of the world. And but I would have had to cast at those wrasse and just set my clutch.
Yeah. The problem is they live in kelp, so you've got no.
I know. I've caught them before when I was a kid using beach casters.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously that's what
the idea. The rod I was using was a 0.5 to 4 gram.
Yeah, I know what would happen because even using the beach cast with like twine, they still got stuck in all the kelp and everything.
Yeah. They know what to do, and they've got teeth. So I'm only using for my rig. I'm only using £3 fluoro, so you're going to get bitten off anyway. But I did have my proper bass rod was in the car, and I was like, I could go and get it and have a go for these, but I'd already had the Ballon Wrasse as my species. I didn't need it, so I just leave them alone really. But I know where they are, so next time we can go and catch them.
Yeah, but also in the summer, you see, buddy, it's nice to do different things, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And go on.
So I think in the summer you just got to get away from these people that go pike fishing on these resis in the summer. It's just moronic, in my opinion. Just leave them alone. There's so many things you can go and do and have a lot of fun doing that don't endanger the fish. Just stick. Sometimes we have to be a bit old school and stick to the traditional seasons and just try different things. It does infuse your angling, doesn't it? Even more. It gets you really into completely different things that you never thought you'd be into. It's cool.
Well, this is the thing. So I'll now obviously being a part of this big LRF world and looking at, and the other thing is, I know we already thanked Adrian and the organiser of that. It's worth mentioning that the guys who organised that competition, I wouldn't fancy their job. They've got people from all over the world submitting these captures, and a lot of these fish look the bloody same. So they've then got to sit behind a computer screen and verify them as they're coming. Somehow try and top them up into some sort of order. So again, and it was well supported with sponsors and companies that backed it. So there was some nice prizes as well. So and like I said, the community part of it's brilliant. So huge thanks. I think it's Ben Bassett and Rich Salter. I'm sure I'm missing other people out who run the BIG LeRF stuff. And they do other things as well. They do the BIG LeRF Weekender, which is what this was, and they've got a winter league. So starting on the 1st of December. They have a league, so it's a species competition over the entirety of the winter. So you can fish wherever you want, and you try and rack up species. So they have that, and then in the beginning of the summer they do a fundraiser as well. So they do a fundraising event, and that's usually in one place where everyone gets together. But it's a growing thing and a community, and there's some cool people involved in it. So I like
that they're not measuring as well.
They're not measuring, yeah. It's this, yeah. So the fundraiser one they have in the summer, they have like mini events within the event. So they'll have like a 2-hour comp where everyone's pegged out, and it's an each millimeter counts. So you're catching fish, and people have got little drainage like gutters with measures on it. You catch them, right? Oh, that one's like 54 mil. Right, quick, check back, and you're trying to bang out as many as possible and rack up as many millimeters as possible. I think it's so funny. Like, I love it. And there is some there's a lot of skill with it. This fishing for the super small stuff. They're not easy to catch. They're really not.
It grows the sport, doesn't it, of lure fishing, which is amazing.
You know what else I learned is that it's absolutely perfect for kids.
Well, I was about to say this, and this is not fishing, but Alan, who I go fly fishing on the carp with, his daughter is one of the key players in pushing the 100 for the cricket.
Yeah, brilliant.
So she's working for she works for the ECB, and the 100 was obviously to try and get families involved in cricket because it was dying. If you think about it, at the test matches and the bash, it's a lot of drinking. The 100 is designed to get families involved, and there's a big growth in girls playing cricket now. So 100, even though I watch it and I can't understand what's going on, has provided a vehicle to drive cricket for families. So this type of thing is fantastic as a vehicle for driving lure fishing, because like you said, it gets kids involved because they're catching regularly. Keeps them interested.
Well, there was I've forgotten his name entirely, but there was a fella up we saw him at Weymouth Stone Pier. So if he happens to watch this, he'll know I'm talking about him. He was there with his son, who I can imagine is probably similar age to my oldest boy, so sort of maybe 10, 11, something like that. And they'd been out fishing all day, and the kid was just as enthusiastic as he would have been first thing in the morning. And they was on the pier, and they was fishing, and his wife come down with the younger kid with some drinks and some food, and they sat around and they was catching fish, and the youngster was holding the fish. His brother was catching and chucking them back, and I thought, this is it. This is what it's all about, really. And these are the guys that will be doing this competition in 15 years' time when we're all crusty and old. They're the ones that will be keeping it alive.
Oh, mate, if you get too serious on it, you might be driving through the night and Forget
Well,
ZANDERMADNESS and just go and catch your blenny and your stone loach.
I know. Well, the thing was, like, after the competition finished at 6 in the evening. I had to work Monday, so I had to get home that night. I forget what time I left Weymouth. I didn't get home. Left Brixton. I didn't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning. It was Andy. I don't know what it is with me and traffic. At midnight, I got to the Dartford Tunnel and then didn't move for an hour.
Oh, can't stand traffic.
What is happening at midnight on a Sunday that means I don't move? Like, there was nothing. There was no crash. I looked as I went past. I was like, "What? Why am I still sitting here?"
It was thousands of our LRF anglers trying to get back home.
I was trying to get into Essex. Yeah, it was an exodus back to Essex. Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I put my phone on my seat here, right, to tell us how long we've been going.
Yeah.
The problem is I forgot what the time was when I pressed record.
Well, it also says it at the top of the screen here.
Yeah, but I'm miles away. I can't see it.
Oh, right. We've been recording for 50 minutes.
Oh, we've gabbled on a long time.
I know. It's me. I'm getting as enthusiastic about gobies and blennies as I am about eels.
Yeah, well, we're not going down that route tonight. We'll be here all night. No.
No.
Oh,
there was eels caught on lures though, so that was a doable thing as well.
Oh, well, let's visit that next time because I was about to ask lots of questions, but we'll run out of time.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I'm glad you had a good time. That sounds fantastic. So, it just show you that there is this because we also had a nice chat with Steve Collett, didn't we, at ZANDERMADNESS, and he's going to come on the podcast. I haven't told you this.
Yeah.
So because obviously they've got the Pro Elite League that's kicking off as well.
There's some really cool things that we can't really talk about yet that Steve's working on behind the scenes.
They're really pushing the lure fishing scene in the UK. So there's a lot going on. The next 2 or 3 years is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what facet of the sport you're in. It's just great that lure fishing is getting bigger and bigger because we've got a long way to go before we can compete with other countries. But it's getting bigger, and I think there's a lot of people actually giving it a go and picking up a lure rod and just trying to catch fish. It's really, really cool. And you can just walk with a little bag, a rod, and even on the beach in the summer in rock pools. It doesn't matter, does it?
That's it.
It's cool. Mate, I think we should wrap it up.
I've got to go home.
Yes. You're going to get caught in traffic tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Right. Let's pull this one to a close then.
Cool. Right. Just watch everyone. See you next time.
Yes, see you later.